going to call this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, the meeting was called to order at 3:39. This is a roll call for the February 14th Urban Redevelopment Agency meeting. The Honorable Khalid Kamau, Chair.
Present.
The Honorable Catherine F. Rao, Vice Chair. The Honorable Carmelita Gums, Secretary.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis. Present. The Honorable J.C. Sebastian.
Present.
The Honorable Corey A. Reeves. And the Honorable Natasha Williams.
Present.
And the Honorable Linda Bakir Pritchett.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
All right, we have a few things. We have a couple of meetings and a few things to discuss. So let's get started. Will you sound the next item, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, the next item is approval of the August 16, 2022 and the May 25th, 2022 Urban Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes.
I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the May 25th, 2022 and April 16, 2022 meeting minutes for the URA.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
And Councilmember Pritchett.
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is an update on URA expenditures. This will be a presentation by the Department of Public Works, Antonio Valenzuela, Director.
All right, before we begin, I just want to ask a question of you and Mr. Hammonds, our media person back there. Are we going to keep all of this meeting on one YouTube? Okay. All right, thank you. Yes, Councilman Willis.
Can you ask IT? I'm having problems with my computer.
Mr. Strickland? If Mr. Strickland is in the house, if IT is in the house, if you could come up to the dais. A couple of us are having issues with our laptops. I will start just taking hands. We're going to have a little bit of a presentation first. I'll ask everybody if they could just hold their questions till we get through the presentation. And Public Works, you're up.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Manager, residents of the City of South Fulton, Antonio Valenzuela, Public Works Director for the City of South Fulton. Mr. Adams, could you please put the presentation up? Mr. Mayor, this is an update to the urban projects, to the URA projects that Public Works was engaged to do for the City of South Fulton. It is based on the resolution that was approved in 2019 and adopted by City Council on June 19, 2019, with the creation of 13 With that said, I would like to go ahead and present to you what it was done up to date and go from there. Next page, please, Mr. Next page. Under the 13 URAs, we were engaged with $16.34 million that were distributed between URA 1 and URA 13, as depicted on the table. We have also summarized how we disclose the funding between districts and in a way of how other funds were associated with URA funding. It should be noted that when we were engaged to develop a URA, we received 13 URAs, and within those, we had different facilities and within each district. It was never done in a manner that URA funds was going to be distributed in an equitative manner or for specific projects. As we were engaged to proceed with URA, facility assessment was done. At that time, about 3 years plus, we received an estimated cost of needs for all the facilities within the city of South Fulton that was estimated at about $50 million plus. Our current estimates for the needs to cover or what we should do for the city of South Fulton at this point is over $70 to $75 million. Hello? Next page, please. I would like to start with URA 1 and provide to you the current status of all the projects that we have at different facilities. With that, on the left-hand side, you got the projects, a quick description of what those projects are. On the right-hand side, the forecasted project timelines, where it provides to you when we started and the status of those projects. I would like to state that the vast majority of URA and facilities that we were engaged to provide some type of remedies are completed up to date, with the exception of a full handle projects. I would like to mention to you the Welcome All roof replacement. We have done 4 roofs, and 3 of them are completed. At this point, at this current facility, we have 3 vendors working at the same time. We have the interior renovations that we hope they're going to complete in the next three weeks or so. Then we have the roof. The skylight is under installation. Half of the skylight is completed. And then we have pending the slide pool. The slide was ordered, is ready to be delivered. However, we will not be able to start any installation until all the scaffold is removed out of the swimming pool. Currently, the schedule is looking at completing the roofs in the spring and completing the slide in the early or late summer or early fall. Sandtown roof replacements, the roofs were completed. Sandtown below grade waterproofing, interior and exterior, is completed. The Sandtown gym HVAC is completed. The Burdett HVAC electrical and plumbing upgrade is completed. Fire Station 1 generator replacements, Fire Station 4 generator replacements are completed. Fire Station 7 generator replacement is completed as well. As part of URAs, we also were engaged to renovate some kitchens and bathrooms at different fire stations, such as Fire Station 1, 4, 5, 7, and 8. At this point, all those facilities are completed, and we are on a punch list status. Fire Station 3 was completed, exterior renovations. Fire Station 1, the restroom renovation is completed. And finally, the Cliftondale and the Southwest Art Center, the design phase was completed, and it was decided to stay at that level due to the major renovations that it will require in lieu of coming up with a new facility. Continuing with other projects, we have the Welcome Mall Park interior renovations, the water slide replacement, ceiling repairs, window replacements, and painting. Again, that's underway, and we're looking to complete early fall. The Birthday Park interior renovations, wall replacements, ceiling repairs, and tree trimming completed. HVAC installation at the gymnasium is completed. The South Fulton Tennis Center, the ADA access ramps, design and installation of such ramps were completed. The Sandtown exterior doors are completed at the gymnasium level. Continuing with more projects, Krill Park renovations, replace of roofs at pavilions, and replace of HVAC units at the community center is completed. A Wilkerson Mill press box renovation is completed. Replace roof, repair ceilings and windows, HVAC, and water heater are completed. The All National Park renovations, replace of concession stand roofing, exterior door, and exterior counter were completed as well. The Canine Dog Park replacement of restrooms and 3 metal doors are also completed. Next page, please. At this point, I would like to display to you what I read, and for you and the community, provide you a visual of what it was done to the URAs. On the URA 1 and Tremolo Crow Park, on the left-hand side, you can see pictures on actual conditions back 2 years ago or so on, and on the right-hand side, you can see the current conditions. On Tremolo Park, you can see the exercise equipment replacement and the restroom repainting that were completed. URA 1 and District 1 and District 4, Fire Station 2 and 8. You can see the kitchen remodels, the prior version and the after version, as well as the generator repair that were completed for Fire Station 2. Next page, please. Fire Station 4, you can see the pictures before with the older generators and the new generators as well as the HVAC on the left inside and the new HVAC on the right inside. The kitchen upgrade is also completed. A replacement of cabinets and appliances with industrial grade that were applied to all fire stations are substantially completed, just with punch list items pending. Next page, please. URA 2, Walkmall Park. You can see the conditions where the roof were before. On the right-hand side, I'd like to display the current conditions. Then on the main building, about the swimming pool, the issues that we have with the trusses that supports the roof are completed and currently installing the skylight at that location. Next page, please. Continuing with URA 2, Walkmall Park, the swimming pool before and after. As you can see, once you exit the building, you can see people still working inside the building. Good examples of, on the left-hand side, the current conditions that we had as a way to work in parallel. We have done all the footings for the slide and hoping that once the scaffold is removed, we should be almost ready to start installing the footings for this water slide. Next page, please. Delano Park and the URA 2, District 3, the fence replacement before and after pictures. URA 2, District 3, Fire Station 1, you can see the generator, the bathroom conditions, the floor conditions of the bathroom, and then you can see the after pictures at the restroom as well as the new generator, as well as prior conditions on the kitchen and current conditions on the kitchen. Continue with URA 3, All National Highway Park. That's an All National Park. You can see the concession stand roofing is complete, the doors that were replaced, as well as the countertops that the counter replacements that were done. Next page, please. URA 4, Sandtown Gym. The current conditions of the doors and the roof. The full roof replacement is complete. As mentioned before, below grade weatherproofing on the inside and outside of the building is complete. The gymnasium doors and lower level doors were replaced, and we are remaining with minor punch items right there. The HVAC installation at the gym was completed as well. I'd like to note that we still have some pending issues under the Sandtown. We just opened the bid for Sandtown. We have not received the results yet, but the city has received the bids for the mold remediation and all interior items that are pending for the Sandtown. Next page, please. URA 4, Sandtown is a continuation. You can see pictures before and after. It really makes a difference. We still have a ways to go, but we're going to get there. Next page, please. What's pending at that location is to ensure that we have the ceiling below the roof. We'd like to paint that. We'd like to handle the floor at the gym and ensure that the venue is free of mold. Continuing with Sandtown, still a few items that are in progress. Burdett Park. We can see that before the new HVAC unit that was installed, we didn't have it before, as well as the duct sock that's on top of the ceiling, as listed on the venue with a blue demarcation. Continuing with Burdett Park, we have painting the ceiling, the walls, and so on. And you can see all the areas that are needed, that were committed under the URA. We still have a few items that are outside URA, but we're on the works to make more revenues to that venue. Krill Park, before, pictures for the pavilion roof is complete. On the right-hand side, the way it looks like, and some pictures when the HVAC replacement was underway and not completed. URA 6, Fire Station 5, you can see the kitchen remodels, upgrades, and the way how it looks like now. URA 8, the South Fulton Tennis Center, the canine dog. We replaced the doors. I believe that it looks much better the way how it used to look like, and it's much safer to be used. The tennis center, it was not, had issues with ADA compliance. We have done our part, and now we can consider the tennis center as being an ADA center. The tennis courts reconstruction that was done, I believe, 2 years ago, is still under URA funding. Fire Station 7, the replacement of the generator, left inside, right inside, and some soffit work that was done, and it looks much better. Wilkerson Mill Road, minor repairs to the roofing envelope, as well as the trim is complete. The window replacements were in progress that are complete. The interior press box ceiling repair is as well completed. URA 13, the Cliftondale Center. We have completed all the design. We went ahead and done estimates to see how much it will cost to make the repairs in lieu of having a new building. It was discussed with our parks directors and others, and agreed that at this point, the current venue, the way how it serves, and the future investments, it should be, the venue should be demolished and just design a new venue that will serve the current needs for the area. URA 13, Fire Station 3, we have the retaining wall that was about to fall. as well as drainage issues that we have on the back side and front side of the building. We have replaced those, and we don't have more water floods at that particular venue. With that said, I have concluded an update on URA, and at this point, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, I'm still trying to get into the queue. Give me.
Councilmember Sebastian's in the queue.
Say it again.
Councilmember Sebastian is in the
got
queue.
you. While I am waiting for my internet, I do just want to ask, do any of these improvements include improvements to Wi-Fi at our park facilities?
We have discussed with our IT director, and those improvements were not listed as part of the URAs, but our IT director is aware of such need.
All right, thank you. Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Valenzuela, thank you for your presentation. I do have a question when it comes to Wilkerson Mill, and I pointed this out to Mr. Turner, our Parks Director, last week. None of those repairs that were done at Wilkerson Mill Park include the restrooms, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The restrooms there, even those that are working, and there's a problem with the female restrooms I pointed out last week, that they're actually cordoned off, and it's very important that the restrooms there be put in working conditions, because that's literally the only area we have to do any community events, except the fire stations, right, in District 4.
Yes, sir.
So I would suggest that please get together and figure some stuff out for the restrooms. And those that are working, they're like 1960 equipment. So an upgrade hopefully is in order soon for the restrooms there, both male and female. And by the way, it's the female restrooms that are out of order. Okay?
Well noted, sir, and we'll handle it.
All right.
All right, I don't see, and will you put the queue up there as well? I don't see
Yeah.
anyone else in the queue.
I don't see
Do you
anyone
have
in the
other
queue.
questions? Okay, Councilman Reeves.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. Thank you, Mr. Valenzuela, for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
I just one question. How much of the capital budget has been spent on facilities projects besides the URA funds in the last 5 years?
That's a good question. At this point, I don't have, besides URA funding, how much money was spent. But if I'm not mistaken, is the initial funding that we received were pretty much funding for maintenance issues. So the funding that were spent on facilities, I would say they were not substantial. But for this year, we do have some funding for facilities, and that's how we plan on doing a few things that are outside URA.
Thank you, sir.
All right, are there any other questions, comments, concerns, queries? All right, hearing none, I will adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
I move that we adjourn the URA meeting.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Thank you, Dr. Rao. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote to adjourn. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis. Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams. And Councilmember Pritchett.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 4:03 p.m.
All right. I will call the next meeting to order. For those of you all just joining, we do have 3 meetings tonight. We have a URA meeting which discuss the state of our facilities. We're going to have our work session where we talk, amongst other things, about the programming at our facilities, and then following that we will have our regular 6 p.m. zoning hearing. And with that, Mr. Clerk, please call this meeting to order. Please call the roll for this meeting.
Yes. The work session is called to order at 4:04 p.m. This is a roll call. The Honorable Catherine F. Rao, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable J.C. Sebastian, District 4.
Present.
The Honorable Corey A. Reeves, District 5.
Accounted for.
The Honorable Natasha Williams, District 6. And the Honorable Linda Bakir Pritchett, District 7.
Present.
And lastly, the Honorable Mayor Khalid.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we begin, I do want to take a moment of silence and a word of prayer. First, I do want to take a moment of silence for some recent victims that we've had here in the city of South Fulton, including Ms. Morrison, who was a victim of a domestic violence attack, Mr. Brian Brown, who was killed at the Wells Fargo on Old National, and Mr. McQuavius Blanchard, who was shot at Camelot and is still on life support at Grady right now. And last but not least, a moment of silence and thanks to the Jackson Ransom family. Many of you have probably heard that Atlanta's first African-American First Lady, Miss Bunny Jackson Ransom, passed last week at the age of 83. She leaves behind, in addition to an incredible family, an incredible legacy of how to lead with class. So let's please take a moment of silence for them. Heavenly Father, we come to you on this Valentine's Day, first thanking you for your love. Thank you for loving us even when we are not loving or very lovable. As we build this new government in alignment with you, please give us, your people, discernment and courage. Then guard our hearts with your peace, which passes all understanding and anticipates your miracles. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. Amen. All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the
Mayor.
first.
I would like to make some amendments to the agenda.
Okay. Hold on, let me get the right agenda. Yes, Councilwoman Gomes.
So the first amendment that I would like to make is that we move executive session up to the next item before the city manager staff reports. So I would like to make that motion. And then also too, I'm a big stickler about people's time and what we should be able to do. We have had quite a bit of discussion on Beacon Ridge and Camelot condominiums, and we also know that we don't really offer any type of municipal service to address that. So I think number 8 should be removed as well at this time.
All right, so first.
Second.
All right, first I want to say there is no executive session in this work session. We have the executive session at the end of the zoning hearing. You may recall at the last meeting, I asked for us to consider moving the zoning hearing to 7 o'clock. I think Dr. Rao suggested 6:30. We do have a packed agenda, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Clerk. We have to publish the zoning hearings, is it 2 weeks or 30 days in advance?
I believe it's 45 days for zoning.
All right, so regardless of what time we end these meetings, the zoning hearing for next month has already been posted publicly for 6 p.m. So I don't think that we will have time for executive session.
Well, unfortunately, if we are able, I have a second.
I'm going to just ask if we could observe the rules of decorum, and I'll finish speaking, and then I'll
Sure.
gladly turn the floor over. I do see I do see that that has been added. If we have an executive session, just keep in mind, we have posted 45 days ago that we would start the zoning hearing at 6 p.m. And then lastly, we've actually never had any conversation publicly about Camelot or Beacon Ridge. I've tried multiple times to bring it to the agenda. It was removed by a vote of council, actually in violation of Robert's rules. Previously, several members of Beacon Ridge and Camelot are here tonight, and I think that we deserve to at least have the conversation that we have published. It is also not true that we can do nothing as a city,
That's not
which
what I
is
said.
one of the, all right, I just want to be clear,
Okay,
the
clear,
purpose
but
of
that's
this
not what I said.
conversation. We're going to talk about a lot of things tonight, and I'm going to ask that when we disagree, that we could disagree agreeably, and just to remind all of my colleagues and the citizens who are watching online and in person that we do not normally vote on anything in the work session. We are just here to ask questions and facilitate conversations. There are people living in very dire circumstances. Someone was just shot at Camelot again today. Someone is on life support. People in January were in Beacon Ridge for 10 days without heat or hot water. So if there is anything that our city is able to do, I would like to hear from our staff. I would like to be able to ask questions of our staff to see if there's anything that we can do to make sure that everyone in the city of South Fulton has affordable housing that is safe and sanitary. So I will not be removing the conversations about Camelot or Beacon Ridge. However, if it is the council's pleasure to start the meeting with an executive session, keeping in mind that we do have a full agenda, if there are 4 votes to go forward in that way, then I would be happy to do that.
Again, my motion is, there was a motion on the floor before we got all of that. And Mayor, I do ask that you be respectful as well. There are certain things that you do that are not in order as well. So I'm not giving you a hard time today, but I do ask that you provide that same courtesy. So with that being said, I still would like to move executive session up before the staff reports for the city manager. And if it's the will, if you all want to spend your time on discussing Camelot when we've had this conversation before, I do respect the individuals that are here. But again, at the same time, unfortunately, there's not much that we can do as a city to address whatever it is that you're trying to address. So that's my motion. If you all decide to not move forward with the Camelot discussions, that's fine, but I do advise that we move up executive session.
So-
Mayor, her
okay,
motion was already seconded, and I'm raised my hand for discussion.
Okay, so I'm first going to say that the motion for Camelot is denied. Robert's rule says that the person who puts the items on the agenda is the only person that can remove them from the agenda. Is that correct, Mr. Parliamentarian?
We have the right to amend the agenda, Mayor.
From the last time that you mentioned, if a proper motion is made, then it can be amended.
Could you please cite in Robert's rules where the maker of, where someone who adds something to the agenda, because we just went through this.
No, the difference was at that time, the proper motion wasn't made. In our ordinance, it mentions that if they suspend the rule, that then they can remove it. That's under our ordinance under 1-302. The last time the proper motion was made, that's the distinction. If the proper motion is made, then it can be.
All right.
Was the proper motion made?
I'm still going to take these motions separately because I intend to overrule that
As
ruling.
the maker of the motion, I withdraw the first motion, and I will allow, since you have people here to speak, I will allow them to share their thoughts and our concerns. But again, we still stand in the same position. But I would like to move executive session up before staff reports.
Mr. Mayor, I'm in the queue.
All
Mayor,
right,
I'm-
thank you for that, Councilwoman Gums. It has been properly moved and seconded. I'm going to open up for discussion. I believe first in the discussion is Councilwoman Willis.
Yes, I just want to make sure that before we discuss anything publicly about private property, I remember when we tried to discuss items about private property, it was suggested that we do it in executive session under real estate. So I just want to get an opinion from the city attorney. Is it appropriate to discuss anything about private property on this diocese, or should we be discussing it? I don't know what the basis of this discussion is, so should we be discussing it under under real estate in executive session, or do we need to go back in executive session, find out if this qualifies for real estate, or if we can be, because I just don't want us to violate anything. And then I also want to mention, Mayor, that there was a work session. We did an ordinance on the flow of how the work session is supposed, the agenda is supposed to be, and this is not following policy, because the city manager can put items on. I think you have up to 2 items you can put on, and we have up to 2 items we can put on, and there's 10 items on this agenda. Am I correct? I'm not. I just want to make sure, do we have to suspend the rules to adopt this agenda as is, because it's not following the, or this is Councilmember Williams. I know you sponsored this ordinance. Does this agenda follow? Does this follow the protocol of the agenda?
It doesn't, but I think we could suspend the rules, or as long as we get done at 6. That's what
I would just like to point out, I'm going to go to the next person in the queue, but I would just like to point out we are spending more time talking about what we're going to talk about than actually talking about it.
But I asked a
Councilman
question.
Oh,
I asked
sorry.
the question of the city attorney, and
Okay.
all I asked is 2 questions. Should we be discussing these private properties under real estate? And then the second question is, if we are going to proceed as this agenda, I understand if we want to make concessions, but should we suspend the rules? Because we have rules on how this agenda should be, and it's not in that format. And the author of the ordinance just confirmed it's not in the format that it should be.
Well, let's take those, let's take those in reverse order. I believe, and feel free to pull up the ordinance. The ordinance does ask for.
Mayor, in the interest of time,
No, you
No,
brought up the
because-
question. You brought up the question, so I'm going to rule now. There are 4. The ordinance allows for 4 presentations. That's correct. 2 by the mayor and 2 by the city manager.
Mayor, respectfully, you're denying me my right to withdraw a motion. And what I'm saying, in the interest of time, can we just go ahead in executive session, give him time to pull up the ordinance or whatever you're asking him to do, so that we can move forward with executive session? It gives him time to pull up. I was willing to withdraw my motion so we can move forward, and then give him opportunity to research that. That's all I was suggesting.
Okay. So, Councilman Sebastian, you're next.
I wanted to go on record, because I was going to ask for an adjustment to the agenda, Mr. Mayor. But I'm not going to fight with you over this. But I want to go on record as saying that I don't think we should be discussing a legal case when it comes to the Bishop Road landfill openly. Mm-hmm. That's something that's in the courts. Also, as a council member for District 4, I continue to be disappointed that you are putting stuff on the agenda that involves my district, and something that I started working on it even before I got sworn in, to learn everything about this thing, because it's something that my residents and us, all of us in District 4, in that side of the city have been suffering with this landfill. So I'm not sure what is your reason for including this in the agenda, but I really wanted to go on record as saying I had nothing to do with this, nor was I consulted that we're going to have a discussion. So I don't plan to add anything. So for those of you who are here from District 4, I do apologize. I see a few of you here, that I'm not going to be speaking about this publicly in this meeting tonight. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Pritchett.
I would like to offer a friendly amendment or substitute motion to suspend the rules and that we can go to executive session.
We don't have to suspend the rule to go into executive session. We can just add executive session. Mayor, can I explain?
I think it's prudent for us to go to executive session.
I think I'm chairing the meeting, so for now. So we don't have to do that. We have one more comment, and then we're going to take a vote. So we're about to vote on going into executive session after we hear from Dr. Rao.
I wanted to offer that we not discuss anything beyond on item 7 or 8 other than to provide an update on whatever could be legally shared, again, like they said, it's in court, which you kind of touched on. Anything beyond that, that's stricken because these are active cases.
All right, and there is a motion on the floor to go into executive session. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Yes, I have a motion by Councilmember Gumbs, seconded by Councilmember Willis, to add an executive session to this agenda and move it up before the city manager staff reports. It's a roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Williams?
Yes.
Councilmember Pritchett?
Yes.
The motion was approved. We are recessed for executive session at 4:22 p.m.
All right, thank you.